who is autistic. And he just turned 19 years old. And his level of communication is very low. And it's something that I feel I worry about all the time. When my sister can no longer take care of him, what happens to him? Will he find work? Will he find a place to live? You know, what we need to do is, once again, we have to put into place things where, I mean, we did it with discrimination of gender. We did it with discrimination of, you know, ethnicity. We did it with discrimination of what people like, their religion. You know, we can do this, but it has to take somebody saying, hey, look, you're not gonna be able to skirt this issue. We're going to tell you now that you actually have to start changing your hiring practice. Right. And if you don't make it into law, people aren't going to do it because it's profitability and it's greed. And unfortunately, capitalism, I'm not against capitalism. I know I sound like I am, but capitalism is an entity that's created from human greed. It's built off of human greed. It's actually written within it that, you know, it will become cyclical because everybody needs goods and services. You know, the dollar will flow around, but now we're seeing dollars that don't ever come back to us, you know, and it's because we've shut people out. We take people and we say, hey, you know, yeah, your money is welcome into the free market, but I'm not going to pay you anything, you know. That's not fair. A person with disabilities, he or she can go into a restaurant and say, hey, I'd like this sandwich. Great. I'd also like a job. Well, we're not going to take that risk, you know, and that's wrong. And once again, you know, I hate to pound the regulatory drum here, but unless you make it a law, people aren't going to do it. And it needs to be done. It's a civil rights issue. What we're really talking about here, right, all of us, is a civil rights issue. People with mental illness, people with disabilities, physical disabilities, you know, all these, the elderly, these are all civil rights issues. Everybody is afforded within the constitutions the same rights as anybody else. No matter your age, no matter your gender, no matter your race, no matter your religion, no matter your disability, no matter if you have depression. You know, I knew a girl who was fired from 3 different jobs in San Diego because she had deep depression and her health insurance wasn't covering her treatment anymore. She would go and see a therapist, and then that wasn't covered anymore. And then after a while, she's no longer working. And then she's begging people, knocking on doors, you know, I need a job. And that should never happen in the richest country in the world, in the history of the world. That should never happen. And you have to do it with regulation. There's just no other way in my mind. Thanks.
Doctor.
You know, when my 2 colleagues on the other side were talking in restrained reference to capitalism, it reminds me of a book that I just read by Naomi Klein. It's about the climate, and it's called Climate versus Environment. And that's what it really boils down to, but that's not. The issue that you're talking about really comes from this survey, and it has to do with the question, have you hired an incorporated PWD, person with disability, as part of your political team? Well, let me just say that I really believe that it's with venues such as this, with being able to take part in articles for the newspapers, which I have. I am not at all involved with a big campaign war chest. I know that the anointed corporate candidates don't have to worry about that, and they should be hiring people with disability. But I can pledge very easily that if I were elected to Congress, I will pledge to look for people with disabilities to give me the insight that I think any elected official needs to have in order to be a legislator with wisdom regarding a community that otherwise is marginalized. So that's a pledge.
And John?
Well, same pledge. You're looking at my whole campaign team right here. You call the number, I'm the one who answers. You know, really, you talk about jobs, you talk about whatever situation. Yeah, it's a shame, Bill, we have to legislate stuff like that because it shouldn't be. It should come from our humanness. Let's put something back the other way. And yeah, maybe it's already spelled out. I can't believe we'd have to keep putting another layer of laws that say we have to treat people the same way. But let's look at it this way. And I'll lay dollars to donuts. These guys have already done it. But if we go into a place, any business establishment, and they've hired somebody, as you term PWD, any type, have we said thank you? Have we acknowledged that? Or just taken it for granted that they're doing what they should do? I think we all need to be, from that side, a little more, active. That if you see anything like that, I see somebody with a Korea hat on, I served in Korea, I thank them for their service. Well, we should be thanking people for hiring people with disabilities of all types, because that's where it starts. Now you've encouraged it. And sometimes you get a lot more with encouragement. I said, you know what, I'm going to send some more business. I'm going to tell my friends that that's how great this place is. So we're all humans, and we can relate to that here. We don't care. Good people aren't going to care whether there's a law. And bad people won't care if they ignore that law. But normal people, like all of us, and normal compassionate people, I don't want to take normal in the wrong way, but normal compassionate people will recognize when good things and right things are done. And I think that's where we're lacking, not as much in the laws, but we're lacking in acknowledging it and rewarding it with our own pockets and our own dollars.
Thank you. So my next question is in regards to the Disability Integration Act. And for anybody who's not familiar, that's really the next stage in civil rights law for individuals with disabilities. It would end the Medicaid bias for covering institutional services as opposed to community-based services like a caretaker, somebody to drive you to work. Because now under the law, just to give you a way of background, if you are an individual with a disability and you want to live in a nursing home, Medicaid, no matter what state you're in, will cover it. But on a state-by-state basis, they won't cover, a lot of states won't cover your ability to live in the community, like by having an aide or by having other services that are considered community-based services that allow the person with a disability to live in the community. So this act would say no matter what state you're in, Medicaid has to cover those services. I just want to get your thoughts on that law and that concept and whether you would support it in Congress.
I would definitely support it in Congress. I saw the video.